With your help, we can continue to fight for freedom, reach new audiences, and bring important information to the public free of charge. This is not possible without your generosity. Join our quest for the truth and our freedom and donate today, telling it as it is. This is today's News Talk, The World Today.
This is James O'Neill. Russia launched a massive overnight attack on Ukraine, firing more than 650 drones and dozens of missiles, killing at least 3 civilians, including a 4-year-old child, just days before Christmas. The strikes hit homes and critical energy infrastructure across 13 regions, causing widespread power outages amid freezing temperatures. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the attack showed Moscow's lack of interest in peace, despite ongoing U.S.-led negotiations. Ukrainian air defenses intercepted most of the drones and missiles, but the assault marked the 9th major attack on Ukraine's energy system this year. Energy company DTEK said its thermal plants were targeted again, continuing a pattern of repeated strikes since Russia's 2022 invasion. President Trump said it would be smart for Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro to step down, while stressing the decision is ultimately Maduro's. Speaking at Mar-a-Lago, President Trump accused Venezuela of sending criminals, drug traffickers, and mentally ill migrants into the United States. He also said the U.S. will keep oil seized from 2 Venezuelan tankers in December, possibly selling it or adding it to strategic reserves. President Trump further criticized Colombian President Gustavo Petro, alleging Colombia exports cocaine to the U.S. and urging him to shut down major cocaine production facilities. President Trump said the United States needs Greenland for national security, citing Russian and Chinese naval activity and the island's strategic importance. President Trump appointed Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry as special envoy to Greenland, praising him as a dealmaker. Landry said it was an honor to serve and expressed support for Greenland joining the U.S. Denmark reacted sharply, calling the move unacceptable and summoning the U.S. ambassador. Greenland remains a self-governing Danish territory with defense and foreign policy controlled by Copenhagen. Norwegian soldiers are facing shortages of essential winter gear because military leaders have prioritized aid to Ukraine, according to Forsvarets Forum. Items in short supply include winter jackets, insulated boots, balaclavas, helmets, and combat vests, forcing some training activities to be canceled. Military representatives warn the situation challenges Norway's readiness, though Chief of Defense Erik Kristoffersen said supporting Ukraine is currently more important than full domestic stockpiles. Norway has allocated nearly $8.5 billion to Ukraine this year and also provides energy support while monitoring corruption allegations tied to Ukrainian aid recipients. Britain's Labour government has partially reversed its proposed inheritance tax changes for farmers after sustained protests and pressure from the agricultural sector. The original plan would have imposed a 20% inheritance tax on farms valued above £1 million, prompting warnings that family farms would be forced to sell land to pay the tax. Following nationwide tractor protests, the government raised the exemption threshold to £2.5 million, or £5 million for married couples. Environment Secretary Emma Reynolds said the changes protect ordinary family farms while requiring larger estates to contribute more. Farming groups welcomed the concession, but said it does not go far enough. Critics also questioned the timing of the announcement during Parliament's Christmas recess. Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick.
The son of a farmer in Yorkshire called Philip Charlesworth. He took his life the night before Rachel Reeves's original budget because he had heard her briefings and speculation, and he felt that that was the only way he could be certain that he could hand their family farm, a small farm, on to his son and their family. And there are tragedies like that across the country. That is not a unique situation. That is the consequence of this terrible blunder that Rachel Reeves has made and is now partially correcting.
This has been James O'Neill for The World Today.
Hello, everyone. Merry Christmas. Very merry. Probably the merriest Christmas we've ever had, okay? People are saying it. A lot of people, big people, small people, even the elves are saying it. Now, Christmas used to be simple. You had a tree, some lights, cookies, milk, very strong milk, by the way. Now suddenly everything is complicated. They say happy holidays. I don't know. Sounds like a calendar problem to me. Look, I'm not against holidays. I love holidays. I'm a holiday person, but Christmas has branding, strong branding, very powerful. If Christmas were a company, it would never go bankrupt, ever. This year we had inflation. Even Santa felt it. You think coal is cheap these days? No. That's premium carbon now. Santa came to me and said, "Sir, toys are expensive." I said, "Santa, have you tried negotiating?" He didn't like that. Very sensitive guy. And let's talk about AI, artificial intelligence. Very smart, too smart. I asked AI what I want for Christmas. It said, better Wi-Fi and less stress. That's not a gift, that's a threat. Everyone is arguing online. Twitter, X, Y, Z, whatever letter it is now. People fighting over everything. Red cups, green cups, cup politics. Terrible. So this Christmas, I say something very radical, very dangerous idea. Ready? Relax. Eat your food. Ignore your phone for 5 minutes. If your uncle talks about politics, give him pie. It works every time. And remember, if your Christmas dinner is a mess, if the tree is crooked, if the lights don't work, that's not failure. That's tradition. So from me, a very young, very stable baby, I wish you a Merry Christmas, a calm New Year, and fewer group chats. Thank you. God bless. And please, don't let the elves unionize.
With your help, we can continue to fight for freedom, reach new audiences, and bring important information to the public free of charge. This is not possible without your generosity. Join our quest for the truth and our freedom and donate today, telling it as it is. This is today's News Talk, The World Today.
The following program contains naughty bits.
Welcome to the Protagonists, day before Christmas. It's been a very, very hectic day today, but we do have a show that's going to be a little bit different. And I thank our guest for being the evil Knievels of the Protagonists or something like that. Already you can see Robin Tilbrook going, "Do you mean I got up this early for this?" And by the way, thank you to Donald Trump for appearing. Not really. Okay, today we have it's a scratch my nose, we have a 2-hour special of the Protagonists. Our guests are from around the world, reflecting the wonderful network formed by our first station, TNT Radio, and then TNT in the early 2022, I think it was, about January, I think it was, we started, and up to today. Now, there is another chapter to announce for our station. It's a big chapter. But we'll leave that just for another day to make sure the ink dries. But things are going to happen for 2026. Our wonderful and very brilliant guests are located in Australia, England, Wales, Germany, Jordan, Bangladesh, and hopefully Indonesia. These accomplished people all share amazing qualities, and one of them is compassion. Their careers and pastimes all involve service to others. They have also given many hours of their time in sharing their insight and expert assessments of the great mess of the global affairs, and for this we truly thank them. We have spent a lot of time in 2025 lamenting what is being done to us by our various governments, and the noose is getting tighter. So we asked our guests to give us their predictions for 2026, what they wish for, and how we can make the year better for ourselves. Our guest today, we're just waiting on others to pop in. Our guest today, if I push the right one, and we'll see if Cam can push that for me, is Trevor Hold, farmer and mental health advocate. Robin Tilbrook, solicitor and chairman of the Democrats, and Rada Sterling will be joining us shortly. Trevor and Robin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Robin, what's your feelings for what has happened in 2025 before we look to the future? What's imagine you're giving your final summary before the judge, and the person that you were defending was either going to go free or have the head chopped off. Carol.
Sort of last words before sentences pass.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, well, certainly here in England, it's been a bad year politically, because after all, we have got a Labour government run by people who are avowedly Fabian and socialist, with Keir Starmer as our Prime Minister, who's somebody who, as a young man, was a full-on Trotskyite, and even went to go and do his sort of gap year, as it were, in a communist camp in Czechoslovakia at the time, I think. So I mean, we are having problems, and you had a news item about what was happening with the farmers. Basically, there's a move afoot by the government to make it so that small farms generally will have to be sold up when the older generation dies, and can't easily be inherited because of the amount of tax they're going to have to pay. And that's thought to be something that is tied in with all the net zero stuff, because they're looking at trying to increase the area of solar paneling and wind farms and all the rest of it, all of which is going to be a continuing serious problem. Even with the slight change that's been made, it's more cosmetic than real. It still leaves a serious threat for most small farms, and one of the sort of final blows of the way the government was operating is we got to a point where they agreed with inquiry into the child rape gangs that have been operating, mainly from Pakistani Muslim criminals, and so the inquiry is going to be headed by a Labour insider. It's Labour that's been particularly involved in covering up these gangs. So the idea that she's an appropriate person to be the head of the inquiry is just absolutely outrageous.
It's just terrible. Trevor Hold, a magnificent person, up against government, doing a lot of good for just generally the people, community. And Trevor, thanks for joining us. What's your views on and the roundup? In Robin's case, it was to save someone from having their head chopped off. In your case, it's to save them from having honey poured over them, and the fire ants go to work. So your summary is going to either save that person from a painful ending, or they can go out and get some hot water and just kill those ants themselves. What's your views of the last 12 months?
Yeah, single word I would use is probably empowering. I think it's being able to build communities and connections across a great vast area of southeast Queensland, building networks with different organic organisations and trying to campaign a diverse range of people based on simple values of fundamental human rights, private property rights, and individual choice, and to successfully be able to do that through such traumatic circumstances that people are finding, I find to be very humbling, but also empowering in the fact that the government could upset such a diverse range of people, everyday people, every day. That takes a very special kind of stupid, and I feel that's what we're dealing with. There's not too much else I can say about that.
But it is terrible, though, and it's. I think it doesn't matter where you are. Governments around the world, in particular the Western governments, have this. Robin, have this propensity to ignore that the people that voted them in are the ones that need to be a little more respected, and to do what what their voters or the citizens of that particular country wants. In Starmer's case, though, he got in with a great majority. But it would seem, though, that the people who voted him in, there's a great chunk of those that wish he would just leave.
Yes, I think when we talk about majorities, it is worth sort of bearing in mind how so-called liberal democracy works. The majority of people did not vote for the Labour government, did not vote for Labour, and in fact, their so-called majority is based upon less than 20% of the electorate voting for them. The reason they got a large majority in the House of Commons was partly because people were so disgusted with the way that the Conservatives had operated for the last 15 years that many of them stayed at home. Some of them voted Reform, and the outcome was simply a question of apathy rather than an actual vote of support. It's interesting that Starmer actually got less votes than Piers Corbyn had obtained when he was the leader, with a more openly far left agenda.
Yep, Trevor, the governments these days, and you've walked into some, I mean, you're a pretty, you don't like a stoush, you don't like, well, you'll take one up if it comes to you, but we find that in your case, the Queensland government, which is sort of now bleeding to the Western, to the federal government, they're sort of targeting one yourself, but they haven't got any care and consideration for their citizens. What do we do? Because if you look at the Conservatives in Australia, if we were to remove the Labor Party, the Conservatives are no better. And if you look in Queensland in particular, and the fire ant thing is a serious issue, not just for the fire ants and the over hysteria or the overreaction. It's also it shows you that governments, whether the local, state or federal, do not care about individual rights. And Chris O'Fooley in Queensland, he's our Premier in Queensland, he is, I mean, if you see what's happening, say, with yourself and other property owners and the community, he is almost a mirror of the Labor Party, isn't he?
Yeah, and I feel that's been pretty much communicated throughout the year, is that Liberal and Labor are pretty much, two wings of the same bird, to put it politely. I think that's pretty much what we've been seeing right through the year. I think the Conservatives, as you put them, aren't performing or aren't governing to their documented values. Human rights, less government, more entrepreneurship. Human rights, all these things are documented down in their values and what they stand for, but unfortunately they're not governing to them values. And like you said, Queensland state government is an LNP government, but I find, and more recently we see there's a bigger divide in the Conservative between the Liberals and the National Coalition, whereas it was Nationals that broke rank on the net zero, and which ultimately saw Barnaby Joyce, leave the coalition and the Nationals and move over to One Nation Party just recently. But also the divide is more evident in the New South Wales State Parliament, where they voted against the gun reform and other reforms in a rushed bid just recently. I think the Liberals voted with the Labor, and I think the Nationals voted against the agenda that they had. So there's a clear difference between the coalition at the moment the Nationals and the Liberal Party, which is becoming more and more evident. But in my neck of the wood with the LNP Queensland government, it certainly is the case, and having that the LNP coalition not govern to their values is, I feel, going to be detrimental to the National Party. So I feel that either they've got to help assist move align back with them values that are documented, or break free of the Liberals, because otherwise it's just going to be detrimental to them, I feel, in the long run.
This is a special edition of the Protagonists, 2 hours. After this break, we'll come back with Rada Sterling. Our guests are Robin Tilbrook, Trevor Hold, and soon to be Rada Sterling. This is the Protagonists, and this is The World Today.
Have you seen Monty Python's Life of Brian Christmas Crackers?
No.
Who is there?
No one. We're all alone in a godless universe.
Monty Python's Life of Brian Christmas Crackers. Fun for all the family, as long as you're not Christian, easily offended, or expecting good jokes.
Dashing through our day, through a budget full of dread. Wages frozen, dragged, till the middle class is bled. Personal allowance stuck, tax bands never climb. Soon your raise just drags you down while she collects the crime. Reese must go, raising stealthy tax. Oh, what fun to see your pay drained by her hidden axe. Hey, to Reese must go, your ICER shrinks away. Cash ICER cut to gold for most, leave less tomorrow to play. Pensions once tax-free, now salary sacrifice capped. Any extra sum above $2,000 gets NI slapped. Dividends and savings tax, property income too. Even landlords and retirees feel the hammer coming through. Reese must go, dragging down her nest egg dream. Oh, what fun to watch your pot reduce while big wig scheme. Hey, Reese must go, mansion tax on your homes. Properties over $2 million, pay council charges, line the thrones. Reese must go, raising stealthy tax. Oh, what fun to hear the cries of folks on fixed pay stacks. Hey, Reese must go, families and savers woes. Middle class pensioners, renters all feel the weight where Reese goes. Every raise you earn is trapped, thresholds frozen tight and flat. No escape from fiscal drag while prices still climb up. Your pension dreams once safe and sound, now taxed when you try to save. They've locked the doors, they've sealed the fall. What's yours becomes the state's wave. Reese must go, no more sneaky tax. We'll raise our voice, we'll stand our ground, kick tax drag off our backs. Hey, Reese must go, let the people take the floor. From town to town, from city streets, we'll shout, stop and ask for more.
With your help, we can continue to fight for freedom, reach new audiences, and bring important information to the public free of charge. This is not possible without your generosity. Join our quest for the truth and our freedom and donate today, telling it as it is. This is today's News Talk, The World Today.
And welcome back to The World Today and the Protagonists. This is our very special edition, 2 hours before Christmas. I can almost hear the clinking of that bottle of scotch. I hope it's not everybody drinking it. It probably is. Rada Sterling has joined us. Rada Sterling is a human rights advocate and a very good friend of TNT Radio, TNT, and here at the Protagonists, along with the World Today. Rada, thank you for joining us. We were talking about and Merry Christmas, by the way. We can say
you too. Great to see you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're talking about looking back on the year that was. What's your views on the last 12 months?
I'm still reconciling with it. I mean, so much has happened, and some of it we haven't even made sense of, I think. I mean, the Charlie Kirk thing, I think, hit the world hard and still is. I think that was a huge loss for the conservative movement in the United States, and that's going to have an effect on Europe. It's going to have an effect on Australia. And then, of course, we've got the Epstein thing, which is just seizing the news. And I mean, just everything that Trump's done, I'm not even sure we know half of it. Like, most of it seems to have gone by without being reported. And just so much has happened, it seems very confusing. There have been numerous arrests in the UK over free speech principles, including social media posts. There's been, proposals of changing the jury system in the UK, the justice system entirely, and there have been a lot of people bullied into accepting guilty pleas and winding up in prison. So it's I mean, not only that, obviously in Australia things have gone quite wild as well. So I feel a sense of confusion, and I feel a sense of a loss of faith, perhaps in the underlying principles that a lot of us want, which is that transparency, which is more participation in the political system, and for our desires to be heard. And I think that people are perhaps looking to next year, wondering what's going to happen, and feeling a sense of dismay that they're really not sure, and that their hopes and the positivity that they had at the beginning of the year are sort of dashed in a sense. And I think people do need some time to rethink and to plan what they're going to advocate for in the coming year, what's going to happen, and where do they stand.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the future is looking a little uneasy. Trevor Holt, how do you see the future? What hope do you have, and what fears do you have?
Yeah, I think the best thing, I suppose, is that transparency that we talk of. I suppose it's a judicial process that's lacking at the moment, and there's a lot of talk here with fit and proper person. There's a lot of legislation, a lot of licensing. We talk about it a lot here in Australia with Bondi tragic shootings that's recently occurred, and gun licensing. But this term fit and proper person has been rolled out in a lot of legislation and a lot of activities of being a director of a company, yellow cards and blue cards, and a lot of these other things that are fundamental to people's businesses and lives and earning money. But there's no real definition of that. There's no real, it's all just innuendo from government departments that are making these decisions. And I know from my personal experience, when they were trying to find police to force entry onto my property in April this year, there's a lot of correspondence they got from requests for informations, and they used the term that, for example, the term sovereign citizen and anti-government ideologies, and they put that in the emails to the police about the need to use police to force entry onto my property because of them terms. And there's no real justification, there's no real judicial process in that. It's just people try to label you, and the ABCs are the same to me as a conspiracy theory without any fundamental truth to it, and there's no real judicial process on that. So I don't get a right of reply, and these government departments are just labelling people with derogatory terms to try and dehumanise them, to justify their ability to remove people human rights, private property rights, and individual choice. So when we talk about fit and proper people, I feel that having a definition of that and having a process of who gets inside that through a judicial process, rather than just these government departments that could just make stuff up to suit their own agenda, I feel is what we're going to try and move the conversation for, because other people that are deciding who's fit and proper, are they fit and proper, and are they making a decision just so they can continue to abuse fundamental human rights? And that's what's been happening here in the firearms campaign in South East Queensland. Is anyone that speaks up against the firearms not fit and proper? I've been told, and this is how I know there's a big problem in Australia, and it's quite eye-opening. I had a director of of one of the businesses that I've been dealing with the government department, and she sent me correspondence, official correspondence from the government saying my behaviour is unacceptable. And this department has been jumping people's fences, cutting people's locks, harassing women on their own, scaring children, and putting poison around indiscriminately where there are no fire ants. And they're telling me that my behaviour is unacceptable, and that's when I knew there's a big problem in this country. And I suppose that's where we've got to try and get to, is try and have some accountability, traceability, and a judicial process for this stuff. Without that judicial process, I feel that we're going back into the Stone Age, and whoever's got the biggest stick's going to win. So
I'll just stick with Rada on this one, if you don't mind, Robin. It's because it's in Australia. Rada, you're a human rights advocate. It's obvious that not only Trevor, but a number of people now are suffering abuse of the human rights, and we just have to go back just to Bondi, terrible as it was, when they the police manhandled those 7 innocent people in a car on a holiday from Melbourne to Sydney, and one gentleman has great chunks out of his face where he was attacked. He didn't fall off a chair. It's obviously he's met with some force. For what reasons we don't know just yet. But to profile these 7 men in a car and then to manhandle them and threaten them and do all sorts of terrible things, and then we see what's happened to Trevor, for example, who has basically no rights. They can do what they like and then come onto your property. The human rights crisis and abuse, and it seems to be getting worse, and they look for a reason to make it worse, is happening right under our nose in Australia. And Queensland is under the Conservatives are no better than any other state in Australia.
Absolutely. And I think the thing that people need to remember when our emotions are high, and we want the police to get involved and we want them to go and round up and make arrests, we need to remember that today's group of persecuted people is potentially you tomorrow. And we see in the UK especially as a great example is people are being persecuted for their views and branded by the Prime Minister as sort of right-wing extremists when they have quite normal and standard views that are really common. 50% of society has these same views. So we have to be careful when we see police brutality, when we see an overstep of authoritarianism and the law and the people in power, and we see that individuals are having their rights abused. We have to stand for the principle that we're not going to allow that, because today, even if you don't like the people that are being targeted, it could very well be you tomorrow, and we absolutely don't want that precedent.
Yeah, and Robin, in the UK, the rights of your citizens are just diminishing, and we have government doing exactly what they want, all in the name of safety or for the national interest. How do we put a stop to that? How do we say enough is enough? You do not do this. We often hear about talk of a civil war in the UK, and in my day I would never have thought that possible. But it's the oppression from the government. I'm sounding like a guy waving a banner here or a placard, and I should be, because the obvious abuse of human rights of your own citizens are deplorable.
No, you're right. Of course, part of it is all the various changes that were done by Tony Blair when he was Prime Minister, and of course the Conservatives, so-called, did absolutely nothing about this for the 15 years they were in office. If anything, they were backing it up. And what one of the methods that he's used is to create a whole load of regulatory bodies. Almost every type of activity has a regulator, and the regulators are very political. So if you start saying things that the establishment don't like, you're quite likely to find yourself in regulatory trouble. So that's one aspect of it, and another, of course, is the way that the judiciary is selected. We used to have a system where the main aim of the selection of judges was to get the best lawyers. That is certainly not the system now. We have a Blair created selection system at the Judicial Appointments Commission, and what they say is they're not even prepared to consider an application for somebody to become a judge or even a magistrate unless they can demonstrate a lifetime's commitment to equality and diversity. And equality and diversity, of course, in dictionary terms, are contradiction in terms, but it's actually a jargon expression here for statist multiculturalist. And I saw that I think it was your Premier of New South Wales saying in a speech recently that that he thought you could either have free speech or multiculturalism. You couldn't have both.
Yeah, it's a nice message, isn't it?
Our establishment has made their choice on that one. They want multiculturalism and not free speech.
But it's terrible. And if you, if you look around the world, Rana, how do we stack up in Australia, for example, and even the UK? How do we stack up with countries in the Middle East?
I used to say very well, and that I was confident in our judicial systems in the UK, in America, and in Australia, but less and less so over the past few years. It's been just such an ostensible change. I have, watched my clients go through litigations, go through criminal cases in the UK, in Australia, and in the Middle East as well. And I just see that perhaps, I'm lost to criticise the Middle East at the moment when I think our own judicial systems are so flawed, so lacking, and we're seeing the same things here as well. And I think, the UK is such a great example at the moment because we're seeing these and so is Australia, frankly. But we're seeing, the lack of free speech, the lack of independence in the judicial system. We're seeing people unable to argue their cases, judges denying them the opportunity to present evidence. And it's just, I used to have so much faith in judges, in the impartiality and the delivery of justice in the British system, and less so now. The Middle East has been criticised, obviously, for free speech, for authoritarianism, and the justice system itself being completely impartial and denying people, again, the opportunity to present evidence. But I'm now seeing that more and more in the West. And I also see that verdicts are being rendered based often on politics, on opinions, on the personal opinions of the justices, of the judges, the personal, and that used to be up to the jury. But when we have so many cases being heard by judges and those appointments of judges are politicized, and we don't see them applying the law anymore. We see them applying their personal opinions. It's like being in school and handing in an assignment on a controversial topic and being failed, not because of the quality of your work, but simply because the teacher doesn't agree with you. And that's what we're seeing in the justice system. I think, look, Australia really showed itself to the world. I think the most embarrassing moment was during COVID when the police were extremely brutal towards protesters, towards people out there expressing their opinions. And so I'm absolutely not surprised to see a continuation of that behaviour towards the public. That needs to be addressed urgently. It's going to end in death. It has in the UK in the past. And we just simply can't have it, because the next time we want to go out and protest, we're going to be met with violence. We're going to be unfairly detained and not going to have the opportunity necessarily to argue our innocence in the justice system. And we may not even have a jury if we don't fight for this.
Yeah, I think whether it's international or national or local, I think we're in a spot of bother. I think we, not in my time have I seen the restraints or constraints without the shackles just yet on just normal people. Trevor, you have a great deal of understanding, though, for those going through mental anguish. Christmas it can be a very sad time for many people. Your experience and your background, what would you suggest to those that are having a bit of trouble at the moment because of the time of the year? No matter what you do, it's very hard to block out, and sometimes people have trouble handling that. Loss of loved ones, just going through a terrible time, not understanding what's happening around them and so forth, just personal tragedies. What's some of the coping mechanisms that you would suggest just to get through this time?
Yeah, it's interesting you can say that, and I just want to quickly just elaborate. A lot of the problems that my communities have been facing haven't even had the opportunity to be heard by a court. There's reasonable excuse clauses in a lot of these acts, and traditionally, only a court can decide what a reasonable excuse is. But these government departments are taking it upon themselves to making blanket decisions about reasonable excuse and denying judicial process, which is quite disappointing, and it does lead to adverse health conditions. Not being heard and being denied the right to discuss your concerns and have them addressed by the government that's there, presumably to make your life easier and better, is creating adverse mental impacts. And because they're so relentless, it's ongoing. And even through this Christmas time, I have clients and people getting harassed by these government departments to violate their human rights. Even on we got an email today from a lady stressed out. This is Christmas Eve, so people can't even turn off over the break. These guys are working 7 days a week. 24 hours a day to harass these people. We're getting emails and communications, at 8, 10 o'clock at night even, so these guys are around the clock. They're not working 9 to 5, and they're not, these guys are violating human rights around the clock 7 days a week, and they don't care about Christmas, so they're not stopping. So it is very challenging. So the one message that I get to people that I'm trying to enforce, because it is quite traumatic, even with all my training as a mental health practitioner, as a qualified counsellor and accredited counsellor, and through my Bachelor of Psychology study, so 6-7 years of really getting to know who I am and what I stand for over this education. Even I'm struggling when government departments literally hurt me. They cut my hand open, forced entry excessively, tackled me to the ground, and put handcuffs on me in my own backyard to distribute toxic chemical poisons after I've reported adverse effects to my cattle, and that they didn't listen to my reasonable excuse. I didn't have a chance to talk about my reasonable excuse through a judicial process, but even that creates negative outcomes for me in regards to my overall mental health and my diet and exercise routines, and it is something that affects the whole family. So what I say to people is we've got to really enjoy or try to enjoy the process of fighting back against these billion-dollar corporations that are doing this to people, because as individuals, we really know, and we've got no power, but the power that we provide ourselves in creating these social media posts and having these conversations and building networks up and trying to push back where we can. And if you don't have that sense of enjoyment or have enjoy the process of doing that, then it could have a negative impact on you. But ultimately, keeping control of your diet, keeping control of your exercise and your exercise habits, but also most importantly, humans are social creatures. When we're stressed out and that, we tend to isolate more, and we don't want people to know the problems that we're going through, so we sort of hang out at home more and don't go out, and a lot of these problems that we're facing, people are scared to leave their homes because they're worried about people jumping their fence when they're not home and all the rest of it. So what I want to try and tell people is to enjoy the process, but also try to keep with your routine, with your diet, with your exercise, and with your social connections, because I feel that's important, and to reach out with people and find your people. There are many people out there, and there are a lot of trials and a lot of things going on about people that are speaking up. I feel there's a big effort into trying to get people to be quiet, and they do a lot of trolling on social media and thousands of fake accounts to try and really stop people from talking out publicly. But find the people, find the people that have the same values as you, and that are happy to support you. And those that don't support you, then eliminate them from your lives is basically the message that I want. You only want people that are in your corner. Otherwise, what are they there for? So.
Well said, Trevor. The most important thing is what are you doing tomorrow? What are you having to eat? Quickly tell us.
Ham. I like ham. My big things are ham. That's the only time of year I buy a ham. A leg of ham is at Christmas time, and generally it will probably last me the whole of December. Ham's a big one for me.
My family, we used to have it. It would last about 3 days. You'd have it for for dinner after, then you have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it was a house full of boys except for Mum. My poor mum. Anyway, by lunchtime on the third day, it was all gone. You just sat there gnawing at the bone. Anyway, it's another story. Look, thank you very much, Trevor, for your time. Have a great Christmas, great 2026. We'll do more of these conversations. I hope you've been just a brilliant guest and a good advisor for not only the audience but for myself too, and I appreciate it. Trevor Holt, farmer and mental health advocate. Coming up next, Dr. Greg Simons from Bangladesh, Dhaka in fact. This is the Protagonists, a special edition, and this is The World Today.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's truly a real honorable experience to be here this evening. A very wonderful and warm and emotional moment for all of us. And I'd like to sing a song for all of you. It's Christmas in heaven, all the children sing. It's Christmas in heaven, hark, hark, those church bells ring. It's Christmas in heaven, the snow falls from the sky. But it's nice and warm and everyone looks smart and wears a tie. It's Christmas in heaven, there's great films on TV. The Sound of Music twice an hour, and Jaws 1, 2, and 3.
There's gifts for all the family, there's toiletries and trains.
There's Sony Walkman, headphone sets, and the latest video games.
It's Christmas in heaven. Hip, 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 hooray. Every single day. It's Christmas Day. It's Christmas in heaven. Hip, 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 hooray. Every single day.
With your help, we can continue to fight for freedom, reach new audiences, and bring important information to the public free of charge. This is not possible without your generosity. Join our quest for the truth and our freedom and donate today, telling it as it is. This is today's News Talk, The World Today.
And it is indeed Christmas in heaven. You will find there's some things that are just a bit different because it's Christmas. And I haven't had a drink yet. Dr. Greg Simons is our next guest, replacing Trevor Holt, a geopolitical commentator, expert in media and communications from Dhaka in Bangladesh. Greg, thanks for joining us. I kept the best bit. I kept the best bit for you because I knew you loved Monty Python. Well, I don't know if you do or not, but I do. We were talking before, Greg, about what our thoughts were on the year that has been. What are your thoughts? Give us a summary of what you think, what has happened and where we're at.
On mute. Now you can hear me?
Yeah, we can anyway.
Okay, because it's showing on muted. Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, well, it's been another bizarre year for sure, and it's getting more bizarre. Um, it doesn't matter where you are, it seems. And yeah, 2026, I don't know. I suspect it's going to be a bigger dumpster fire than 2025 has been, the way things are shaping up. But well, yeah, I'm not so optimistic about these things, but hopefully some common sense can prevail. But we're not going to find common sense in Europe, which is the EU busily trying to shut down anyone with an opinion that diverges from the official narrative. So, I mean, you're getting political censorship without any kind of legal justification. I mean, we can see what's happening there, and at the same time, lecturing the rest of the world uh, how they should act and behave. So, I mean, I don't know where this is going, but I suspect things are going to take a head soon. We got Venezuela, which is another flashpoint, and Trump and his plans to build what he calls battleships, which I don't know with what money, with what shipbuilding capacity, let alone the ability to crew something, a class of warship that is outdated. So, yeah, we're stepping into the twilight zone big time.
As we had a bit of a chuckle there from Robin Tilbrook. Robin, what are your views? I mean, and it was brought up, and we should mention him. We should mention the elephant in the room. And I apologise to the elephants, by the way. What's your views on Donald Trump and his progressive, it's like a progressive dinner, but there's some bad courses being served at the moment. His progressive dinner or progression on world peace, and that he's going to win numerous Pulitzer Prizes or human rights awards or whatever. I don't know what it is, not Pulitzer Prizes, but human rights awards and that sort of stuff. I mean, what do you think of Donald Trump? Is he a good Christmas cheer or a bad Christmas cheer? There you are.
I think we can't really sort of judge how effective he's going to be. He certainly makes the most extraordinary remarks, which seem quite difficult to understand. But I think I feel a lot of what he says is for a domestic audience. I think he obviously does connect with American ideas, but the way he behaves seems quite strange very often. And certainly, I mean, there's discussion about battleships, and that sounded quite strange. I read between the lines. I thought that what they were actually talking about was building an enormous aircraft carrier, but he was the snag is, of course, that as the Royal Navy's got itself into a situation where, although we've got two quite large aircraft carriers, we haven't got the resources to properly crew those with the right number of. Even more importantly, there aren't enough support ships and protection vessels because actually a large aircraft carrier is a massive target. I did think one positive sign that we could talk about is the American government has to regularly publish its sort of strategic vision for the world, and it has recently done so. And it does seem to have been a more realistic effort at setting out what their priorities are than it tends to be. In the past, it's often been more a sort of propaganda exercise saying that the Americans sort of care for all parts of the world. But in this case, what they're saying is they've got a particular emphasis on a sort of renewal of the Monroe Doctrine, which was the doctrine whereby foreign powers shouldn't have any influence on any part of the Americas, and you've got to see what's going on with Venezuela as partly that, because that's a regime which relies heavily on Russian support. The Americans have forced the Chinese to withdraw from involvement in Panama. So they are actually saying that they're not going to, they're going to end what was a disastrous pattern of involvement in creating attempts at creating democracy in Middle Eastern countries, and instead focus on their national interests. Of course, that does leave the rest of us hanging as to what's going to happen with us, because most of our states have depended upon American support for so long that their actual defence capabilities have atrophied.
While we're talking about all things good, London used to be a very prominent city in the world when it came to Christmas, with your Christmas lights, and of course Moscow is right up with the rest of them. Tell me about your Christmas lights at the moment in London, and if it's far behind Moscow.
So one of the things about our Christmas lights in London is that they're not very Christmassy, and certainly as you go around, you don't see any Christian symbolism at all in the Christmas lights. They are seasonal winterval lights rather than lights of Christmas, I think, and that's not entirely surprising, because Mayor Khan made a speech recently, which somebody was pointing out. He actually says that he considers himself to be a Pakistani, so and a Muslim, and those are his most important attributes, he says in the speech, and so obviously he's not going to be that keen on celebration of Christmas.
And it's lucky, though, I know, in all fairness to Khan, it's lucky, though, that the West was not based upon Christianity. Oh, hang on, it is. Rather, it would seem strange that here we have the West, I'm not going to laugh here, but I want to, fighting for democracy. And we have the evil bear, Russia. And look at Moscow, all about Christianity with Christmas, beautiful lights, and for such a large city, huge, magnificent country, there's a lot of community involved and Christianity. It seems a bit odd that we have the West fighting for democracy against the evil Russia, and yet you see just the basic philosophies led by government are almost entirely the opposite.
Absolutely, and I think that's why we're seeing in the US the push to bring back Christianity unashamedly, to say Merry Christmas. I mean, obviously Trump has, really pushed that agenda, but I think it's come to fruition this year, and especially with Charlie Kirk and the focus on him and a lot of people going back to church. And I think that is going to propagate in the United Kingdom, which desperately needs to look into that element of history and of culture and recognize that, we are actually based on Christianity, and that's okay. And it's okay to be merry, and it's okay to push that and be proud of who we are. I think it's really disturbing that, there were so many terrorist attacks in Germany at Christmas markets and against Christianity, and that people are, in a sense, a little bit afraid to even announce their religion in public. Or are we next going to become like Israeli or Jewish people who don't want to say that they're Jewish for fear of that retribution? And we need to ensure that Christianity doesn't become that way, or that, our culture, that being British is okay, that being a white British is also okay. I think these are really, really important factors that if we don't nurture and if we don't stand up for, our right to be proud of who we are, no matter who that is and no matter where we're from. If we don't stand up for that, we're very likely going to lose it as the demographics change, as the religious balance changes, with all of the immigration that we have had over the past couple of decades and with the declining birth rate. So this is something that, Elon Musk has obviously raised as an existential threat to our future, and it's something to be taken very, very seriously. I think people should get out there, wish a Merry Christmas, hang their decorations proudly, hang their flags proudly. Let's get those lights back in the villages. Let's get that Merry Christmas. Let's get scenes of a manger. Let's get, our history and our culture out there in the open proudly.
Greg, tell me your thoughts on how Christmas is celebrated. I mean, I know it's not a Christian country per se, but Bangladesh and yourselves, and where you are, you're looking probably out in at the moment at many of the Western democracies. They have lost, and in my opinion, they have no moral compass. They've lost the which way to point, which way to go, and they are being overtaken by Islam. It's quite obvious if you look at the UK, for example, and look at Europe. What needs to be done? What's your thoughts on Christmas? How will you celebrate it in Dhaka, and just basically, what are you going to have for Christmas lunch?
Not pork, that's for sure. But anyway, if you look at the issue of religion here, it's actually fairly nuanced and informed, because the locals consider, well, Christianity is an Abrahamic religion, as is Islam. So they see the connections to this, like Abraham is Ibrahim, and you've got these parallel narratives, if we like, of the religion. So, it's not an issue. You can wish someone a Merry Christmas and here without anyone taking offence. I do love saying that to Scandinavians who try to, especially the officials, who try to obliterate these elements of Christianity from any kind of greeting. So it's always happy holidays. Oh, Merry Christmas to you too, and have a happy New Year. And, yeah, you can imagine the carnage going on inside the ideological, shall we say, balancing of that. But it's interesting that, looking at my youngest son, he's taken on himself to actually engage in Christianity. So, of the different churches he looked at, he wrote off the Swedish Lutheran Church, which he considers to be more or less satanic by this stage, which is, I suppose, not too far off the course considering what they do. And so he was choosing between Catholicism and Orthodoxy as being more representative of what he considers what religion should be, a more conservative one. So he's going down the Catholic path. And he's not alone. He made the mistake of bringing me to church once, which I suspect he won't be repeating that mistake again.
Did it fall in?
Well, you know me, I normally blend in very well to politically correct environments and on my best behaviour. But, you see a lot of youngsters there, because if you look at the Swedish state education system, it's a dumpster fire beyond all imagination. And so, yeah, I would be happier if he spent more time studying maths and things like this, but him and some of his friends, they're like in the middle of the night on these chats, waging debates and this kind of narrative warfare with different shades of Satanists, atheists, liberals, and so forth. So you're getting a reaction to this state-sponsored liberalism and wokeism that is, I mean, it's erasing this Christianity, and it's demonizing Europeanness and maleness in society. So, and it's not something that's coming from above. It's coming from this teenage generation that have chosen themselves to react against it. So there might be some hope. I suspect a little too little, too late, but it's good to see it taking root. And as you already mentioned, I mean, Russia, I mean, it's much more balanced in terms of managing. It's not only this orthodoxy, but it's also managing what it calls its traditional religions, which is orthodoxy, Islam, Buddhism, and Judaism. So it's got four what it calls traditional religions, which it's managed for centuries. So we've got some different things which are taking shape, and yeah, I think it's good to see that youth are actually taking the initiative and rejecting this woke liberalism, which is being pushed down their throats through the school system.
Well said, Greg. But you didn't tell us what you're going to have tomorrow.
Yeah, well,
Not having.
well, I'm not having pork, that's for sure. That's impossible to achieve here unless I can have some, what do they call it? Chicken bacon. I'm not sure how that works, but I haven't. Yeah, I suspect it's going to be beef or lamb, so as a substitute.
Robin Tilbrook will be obviously enjoying the finest and most expensive bottle of wine and a good whiskey to follow that. Maybe some food if you can squeeze it in. And just hide your guns, by the way, Robin. Robin, what are you doing for Christmas?
We're having a fairly sort of traditional family Christmas with turkey, bacon, sausages, Brussels sprouts, that sort of thing. And yes, a nice bottle of wine, definitely.
A nice bottle of wine, very good indeed.
Probably some champagne.
And Rada, who's up in, I would love to live in Cairns. I have to tell you, Cairns is absolutely gorgeous. Rada's up in Cairns. Rada, would imagine it would be a cold meal, wouldn't it? Because it's so bloody hot up there.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be seafood. I usually celebrate on a Christmas Eve, so seafood this evening, and then I'm celebrating Christmas Day actually with an American family from Utah. So we'll see what they want. Maybe some tapas, maybe the big American spread. I'm not sure.
It'll be a fantastic day, and the best thing about Christmas Day is that it does bring, not all the time, but it does bring people together, if only for a few hours. But,
including us.
Normally at the end of it, I can see at Greg's house a few drinks. It's battleship or something like that. Yeah, a few glasses of red thrown around just to get them back into line. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm just making that up. Dr. Greg Simons, Robin Tilbrook, and Rada Sterling, thank you so much for your time. Have a great Christmas. We have another hour coming up next with guests from all around the world. This is The Protagonists, and this is The World Today.
For The World Today, this is James O'Neill. Russia launched a massive overnight attack on Ukraine, firing more than 650 drones and dozens of missiles, killing at least 3 civilians, including a 4-year-old child, just days before Christmas. The strikes hit homes and critical energy infrastructure across 13 regions, causing widespread power outages amid freezing temperatures. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the attack showed Moscow's lack of interest in peace, despite ongoing U.S.-led negotiations. Ukrainian air defenses intercepted most of the drones and missiles, but the assault marked the 9th major attack on Ukraine's energy system this year. Energy company DTEK said its thermal plants were targeted again, continuing a pattern of repeated strikes since Russia's 2022 invasion. President Trump said it would be smart for Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro to step down, while stressing the decision is ultimately Maduro's. Speaking at Mar-a-Lago, President Trump accused Venezuela of sending criminals, drug traffickers, and mentally ill migrants into the United States. He also said the U.S. will keep oil seized from 2 Venezuelan tankers in December, possibly selling it or adding it to strategic reserves. President Trump further criticized Colombian President Gustavo Petro, alleging Colombia exports cocaine to the U.S. and urging him to shut down major cocaine production facilities. President Trump said the United States needs Greenland for national security, citing Russian and Chinese naval activity and the island's strategic importance. President Trump appointed Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry as special envoy to Greenland, praising him as a dealmaker. Landry said it was an honor to serve and expressed support for Greenland joining the U.S. Denmark reacted sharply, calling the move unacceptable and summoning the U.S. ambassador. Greenland remains a self-governing Danish territory with defense and foreign policy controlled by Copenhagen. Norwegian soldiers are facing shortages of essential winter gear because military leaders have prioritized aid to Ukraine, according to thePy's forum. Items in short supply include winter jackets, insulated boots, balaclavas, helmets, and combat vests, forcing some training activities to be canceled. Military representatives warn the situation challenges Norway's readiness, though Chief of Defense Erik Kristoffersen said supporting Ukraine is currently more important than full domestic stockpiles. Norway has allocated nearly $8.5 billion to Ukraine this year and also provides energy support while monitoring corruption allegations tied to Ukrainian aid recipients. Britain's Labour government has partially reversed its proposed inheritance tax changes for farmers after sustained protests and pressure from the agricultural sector. The original plan would have imposed a 20% inheritance tax on farms valued above £1 million, prompting warnings that family farms would be forced to sell land to pay the tax. Following nationwide tractor protests, the government raised the exemption threshold to £2.5 million or £5 million for married couples. Environment Secretary Emma Reynolds said the changes protect ordinary family farms while requiring larger estates to contribute more. Farming groups welcomed the concession but said it does not go far enough. Critics also questioned the timing of the announcement during Parliament's Christmas recess. Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick.
The son of a farmer in Yorkshire called Philip Charlesworth. He took his life the night before Rachel Reeves's original budget because he'd heard her briefings and speculation, and he felt that that was the only way he could be certain that he could hand their family farm, a small farm, on to his son and their family. And there are tragedies like that across the country. That is not a unique situation. That is the consequence of this terrible blunder that Rachel Reeves has made and is now partially correcting.
This has been James O'Neill for The World Today.
Christmas. Oh, I can't wait for GP spaces. Fly the moon for Christmas, yeah. No more cutting in that line. And it's been so long, no hotels to spare. Could it be wrong to send them far away, back to where they're from? Fly them home for Christmas. It's gonna take some time, but we'll get there. Pensioners in cold homes, oh, homeless vets are all around. But there's room in a 4-star, yeah, when the boards hit solid ground. Starmer vowed to you, his words were empty when he got through. He dropped it quickly, you turn in again. Fly for Christmas. Fly them home for Christmas. No more hotel rooms for free. But take a look at the homeless on the street. It's just insane. Just insane.
When you have an immigration system that seems almost designed to permit abuse, one that is sold by politicians to the British people on an entirely false premise, you're actually contributing to the forces that are slowly pulling our country apart.
Top to toe in small boats. Horse Thomas lies are all around. Free iPhones and trainers, yeah. While our own are left to drown. So we pay our dues while they get it for free. Who makes the rules? Oh, just blame your MP. Homeless in the snow. Fly them home for Christmas. Fly them home for Christmas. No more hotel rooms for free. But take a look at the homeless on the street. It's just insane. Just fly them home, fly them home. Fly them home for Christmas. Fly them home for Christmas.
With your help, we can continue to fight for freedom, reach new audiences, and bring important information to the public free of charge. This is not possible without your generosity. Join our quest for the truth and our freedom and donate today, telling it as it is. This is today's News Talk, The World Today.
The following program contains naughty bits.
It does. Beware. Naughty bits. But it's Christmas. And I can hear some chortling in the background already. My guest for this hour, those naughty bits, be aware. There's some good ones too coming up, by the way. If you like Mariah Carey, boy, do I have a shocker for you. My guest are Dr. Frank Romano, author and Middle East analyst, Heather Rees, MD at Farmerflow Limited, and Robert Sibbers, founder and CEO at Oval Media. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Welcome to Christmas and a special edition of the Protagonists. Frank, first of all, you're in Jordan. Can you just tell us why you are in Jordan?
Yes, I participated in the global Summit flotilla and was dumped over the border by Israeli soldiers with about 200 other activists. I met an activist here in Jordan after we finally were able to sort out how we're going to get home. Because at first, the American consulate just said, "Hey, I'll take you to the airport. Good luck." And we only had clothes on our back. And, you have to throw out your credit cards and your mobile phones and your computers and all, and not bring money on board because the Israeli soldiers steal it. So I said, "Well, thanks a lot, consulate. We're going to take us all to the airport, and then we're just going to walk around looking kind of dumb and lost and without any money to buy a ticket back home." We got that all sorted out. I met an activist here. And then I said, "Look, maybe the Global Summit Flotilla will be organizing something in spring. Hopefully won't be needed. In the meantime, I'd like to improve my Arabic." So he invited me back to Jordan to do that. And I'm also meeting with activists here to prepare for the next step to Gaza if needed.
Frank, in Australia, I'm going to mention this. In Australia, we've had this terrible massacre not massacre, it was mass killing. 15 people, including 16, including the shooter, were killed. Terrible time of the year to happen, and it is a terrible time of the year. There seems to be at the moment, and I'm asking you because I think you're a very level-headed, very pragmatic person, and I value your opinion on this. There is a lot of conflict at the moment in Australia. Now, we're thousands upon thousands of kilometres away from Israel or from the Middle East. The conflict at the moment within our country, within Australia, we have the Jewish community in fear of its life, the community, the Muslim community, the same thing. They now fear for their life. We have abuse of both sides, not necessarily from the Jewish community or from the Muslim community, from just general Australians. What would you say, because we need level-headed here, not jumping from point A to point B as our politicians and media is doing. How do we just quell? How do we have calm? And so that we discuss things calmly and sensibly and maturely, because and you've seen the destruction in other countries, that with the diversity or the conflict of that diversity. How do we say to people in Australia, take a big breath? We need to be calm, and we need to show respect to each side. And Australians, the ones who are just Christian or non-Christian, whatever, but they need to everyone needs to have that respect at the moment. And I thought you would be the ideal person just to, because you've been there. You live in Europe. You're an American. You've been to the Middle East many times. You've protested. What is it all about? What do we need to do in Western society, but in particular Australia, which truly is going through a frenzy of opinions and measures that are just just shock reactions? What do we need to do?
Well, my original ignorance about what was happening, for instance, in Palestine, was basically because I didn't know Palestinians, and I didn't know much about the Israeli struggle as well. Didn't know many Jews, and so what really helped temper that is that I got together with events, dinners. But and that's nothing new, right? Just let's organize not just a conference, just a dinner. We can hang out a little bit and without even a huge agenda. But I found that, and again, that's a bit of a cliche, and people say, "Yeah, right. How are you going to do that?" Well, what really brought home the bacon, so to speak, is when we start working together on different projects. For instance, there was a homeless community outside of Jerusalem that was formed because of the destruction of some of the homes and office spaces outside of Jerusalem. We got together, not just Jews, because this was in Israel and basically involving Jews. We got together with an international group we actually helped build the structure. And without preaching, without without talking about politics and religion, of course, we just sweat together and said, this is a good cause. These were just working class people, had nothing to do with the conflict. And it was sponsored by Palestinian NGOs, basically, believe it or not, and working with Israeli NGOs, and just sweating together without any dogmatism or politics, really brought us together. So you had Jews, Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, Hindus working together on this project, and it broke the ice. And we actually, like for instance, I'm hammering this thing and I nailed and I hit my thumb. A Pakistani comes over and says, "Oh, can I help you?" And he put a Band-Aid on it, and it kind of build the bonds together. And that's what helped broke the ice with respect to me anyway, and my ignorance, working with different cultures and really realizing that my unfortunately learned racism and so forth by my background sort of dissipated because I saw them as human beings. and I saw them just like me, and working together brought us together.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Hadley Rees, MD at Farmerflow, thank you for joining us. A dear friend of ours here, and I appreciate everything you've done for us, by the way. Look at what's happened in the UK for the last, say, 12 months. Give us your views, a summary, what you think has gone on, and your predictions for the future.
Well, what I would say is we've got a Labour government now, which is basically exactly the same as the government before, and we can go back a long way. And so we've got a two-party system which is crumbling. Here in Wales, where I live, not England, that's Wales, it looks as if Reform are going to form the next, that we're devolved in Wales. So for certain aspects of government, the Welsh Senedd can actually make decisions. And really, it looks as if either Reform or Plaid Cymru are going to elbow out the Labour government, which has been in power in Wales. I mean, people used to say you could put a donkey up in Wales, and if they were Labour, they get elected. And now everyone hates Labour. You know, you did mention Keir Starmer's name in Wales in the main. So that's obvious. Another thing I should say, Mike, is that I put the Christmas lights up about 4 days ago, and they're going every night. And here in Wales, I'm doing my bit to celebrate Christmas, and I listen to all the things that you've said there, and totally on board with that. So here I'm saying basically that probably since the Tony Blair government, the UK has fallen apart. Margaret Thatcher probably started it, and I know some people would like it, but with privatization and all the stuff that happened with selling off our resources, our key resources, we sold them all off, privatized them, and then this notion of competition where you get 8 companies all selling the same thing, but there's joking competition between them, and you get one regulator that's supposed to stop them putting up their prices because there's no real competition. That doesn't work. So we're all getting screwed in the UK for energy, for all sorts of stuff. The cost of rail tickets in the UK are astronomical. Here from Wales to get to London, from where I am in Bridgend, it's going to cost over £250. I don't know what that is in Australian dollars, but to get from here to London on a typical regular ticket, it's not even a first class ticket. So we must be the highest cost country in the world by now. I may not be right on that, but and now we've got a regulator in the UK. We've got a medicines regulator that is still in the enablement phase of the pharmaceutical industry, enabling quicker clinical trials, quicker access to drugs. Everything's being done more quickly. I watched a video of the CEO of the MHRA day before yesterday, Lawrence Talon. Well, he looks like a young salesman, and he did a video, I'm sure I could find it, where he's basically saying clinical trials are going to get quicker, everything's going to get quicker, so it's all going to be bang on, thank you very much. But of course, you can't do things quickly with medicines. It takes 12 years to get a medicine to market, always has done, and unless significant changes take place, it always will. I've got my transforming the pharmaceutical supply chain. It's got lots of good ideas about bringing drugs to market much more quickly, but it involves doing fundamental things with the structure of the industry. And that's where we are at the moment. And I just wish someone would ask me to step into MHRA and sort them all out.
Robert Sibbers, founder and CEO at Oval Media, enjoying the life in Berlin, Germany. Going to take on the world again, maybe, who knows. Robert, looking back at the last 12 months and a bit of a prediction, you have to look into your glass of vodka here. Maybe it's a bit early for you, but tell us what you think is in order for us in the future, and what have you evaluated for the last 12 months? We probably need your microphone on, if you wouldn't mind. It's that little, that one. No, we have no sound at the moment. What we might do is just go to Robert, just hang 5. We'll go to a quick commercial break. I want to play you this track. It's also celebrating part of Christmas, or Christmas, not part of it, the entire Christmas festivities. Maybe, I think, Robert, do we have you now?
Does it work now?
You do. Yes, it works now. So we'll go to you
Sorry.
first, and then we'll come back to Mariah Carey.
So to respond, yes, it is a very tough question, because I have to say the last 12 months have been, again, surprising. I've been extremely impressed by how life in Europe changed since the so-called COVID crisis, and how the countries became more and more authoritarian, which had been initiated before that too, but it still gets worse and worse and worse. If you just consider, for instance, the sanction lists which have been decided just by bureaucrats recently, and you have some journalists on that list who obviously didn't do anything illegal, and they were not. Nobody said they did anything illegal, but still, the sanction list means that their money is partly stolen, that their accounts are frozen, that they're not allowed to travel, and which, in fact, then has the effect that other companies won't interact with them. So you would lose any option of taking a flight, of buying a book online, of listening to music on Spotify, or just seeing a video on Netflix. All this is away, and in fact, you cannot. You are in a prison, even though you're not physically in a prison. I'm just give this as an example of how extreme the European Union's bureaucracy evolved in the last years, and this is of course completely illegal, but it's happening, and it's the public killing of personalities. The most famous one in Europe is Jack Boot, who is said to be pro-Russia, which is even not true. But even if it were true, it's not against the law to be pro-Russia. Um, so this illustrates is that we are in a transformative moment. The societies all over Europe, and I fathom it's all over the world, are completely different now to live in than they have been, let's say, 5 years ago. And it's going clearly towards war. So in a way, for me, I see war is the opposite of freedom. So if politicians then say we have to make this war to defend our freedom, it is certainly a lie. Because the first thing which we lose is just that we can say what we want, that we can do what we want. People are so easy to put in an anxious mode. And you just mentioned earlier the horrible attacks or violence on Bondi Beach. I have to say, it's tension created, and this is of course reinforced by the media to create tension politics. And I think this is what we are here at, because war starts with tension, and war is a way of keeping tension high. And with high tension, you can then change societies. You can put society into a new order. And this is, I think, what happened the last couple of years. And I am, in fact, afraid of seeing people die in the future, because if freedom is taken away, it's just a first step of suppression. You can, I think that murder will come too. And if we then defend human rights on any place in the world, notably in Gaza, it's also a way to protect ourselves. If we don't act, life will be a nightmare. And this is what is my response to regarding your question towards the future. I think it's going are on a fast, slippery slope, in little instances, towards a world dictatorship. The question is where we want to be at.
Frank, where do you see? How did you see the last 12 months? And you've had an eventful 12 months, more than the average person. And where do you see the future? Well, we probably need your microphone first, Frank. Hit that button.
Right,
Says,
right. Sorry. Am I on? Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes. I think basically you actually asked me and Jennifer what hopes and dreams for 2026. And it's all linked with what happened last year. So you are responsible. You opened the door, the floodgates of my fantasies about where I think we should go. I hope the world will find some equanimity, and humanitarian principles will rise as life forces that guide us instead of the search, what's happening today, the search for money, power, nourished by greed. And as the other speaker said, we're really headed toward whether a dictatorship or an oligarchy controlling us. For instance, I believe that the conflict between Israel and Palestine, notably concerning Gaza, has brought the attention of the world to just how much the latter is in control. And it's sadly indicated, by the existence of the full-blown genocide in Gaza taking place before our eyes with relatively limited direct action by the people of this world to stop it. And I hope 2026 then will usher in a new era of direct action to help bring an end to the massacre, mainly of innocent people, not just in Gaza, in other places too, as we see what happened in Australia. But direct action can take many forms. And I think I'm going to talk a little bit about the International Court of Justice. Where is international law in all this? Well, it needs to expedite its procedures and condemn Israel for committing genocide. That case has been pending for over a year now. When Israel is officially condemned for that, countries will be concerned about continuing the supplying Israel with weapons. And more specifically, they'll be concerned about being also liable before the international courts as an accomplice to Israeli crimes by the International Court of Justice. They thus will hopefully stop supplying Israel with arms and maybe cease or drastically limit commercial relations with Israel. And let's get more specific here. I'd like to point out that the Court of Justice judgments can be enforced through the UN Security Council, like under Article 94 of the UN Charter. Member countries of the United Nations must comply with the ICJ judgments. If a country doesn't comply with it, the Security Council can recommend measures. The Council's recommendations could include economic, military sanctions, and others, as well as the use of force as a last resort. So my hope, answering that question, Mike, I hope that the Security Council can change its present internal laws, allowing one country to veto the Security Council resolutions made to decide if to adopt a resolution, a subsequent favorable vote of 2/3 would suffice. Now, this is something that people don't understand and don't know about, and this is fundamental. The UN Security Assembly can implement the 2022 veto initiative, Resolution 76262, and bring forth mandatory debate, and the 1950 Uniting for Peace resolution, that's Resolution 377A. What does that give us? That sets forth that the UN General Assembly, as you know, it's voted time and time again in favor of the liberation of Palestine and so forth. This United UN General Assembly can adopt measures to implement peace and security decisions when the Security Council is deadlocked. That effectively gives the United UN General Assembly the right to bypass or challenge the Security Council vetoes to ensure UN addresses the crisis. The UN General Assembly can then recommend measures to be taken, and that could include embargo, even military action, to carry out that decision. Now, what about this ceasefire that everyone is dancing around right now? It's another form of direct action. So what I'm really trying to, I hope that 2026, as the other speaker noted, we need to take direct action so that international pressure will force Israel to comply with the ceasefire terms, requiring the entry of sufficient humanitarian aid, namely, under the ceasefire terms, I'll quote, aid will be immediately sent into the Gaza Strip at a minimum, and aid quantities will be consistent with what was included in the January 19th agreement. Under that agreement, at least 600 trucks were to carry humanitarian aid on a daily basis, and only less than 300 are doing that now. Now, to further the objective, Mike, it's desirable. Trump should put his axe where his mouth is. He's proclaimed himself time and time again the catalyst for peace between Israel and Gaza. And yet the ceasefire has been broken many times, and he says virtually nothing about it. But without especially complying with the condition of bringing in full humanitarian aid, I believe the ceasefire should be declared null and void. And in addition, the ceasefire has been violated many, many times. I won't go into detail. Another thing we could do for direct action, Mike, is that member states actively enforce the International Criminal Court decision to issue arrest warrants to Netanyahu and Gallant. I was one of the original lawyers filing a complaint with Al-Haq from Ramallah seeking justice against Netanyahu for war crimes committed against Palestinians and arrest warrants. And the ICC waited 5 years, waited almost for a full-blown genocide to finally issue these arrest warrants. The International Criminal Court declared that with regard to the crimes, they found that Israel was liable as co-perpetrators. Let's just say Netanyahu. You cannot, before the ICC, condemn a state. Netanyahu and Gallant, the former general, the head of the equivalent to the Pentagon, perpetrators of war crimes of starvation as a method of warfare, crimes against humanity for murder and other crimes. Pursuant that, hopefully Netanyahu's pilot of his plane makes a mistake, and this is another hope for 2006, Mike, makes a mistake and flies over the airspace of a country. He becomes so full of hubris that he feels he's untouchable, flies over a country, his plane, endeavoring to comply with the ICC decision like Spain or Ireland or something, and that country's Air Force intercepts Netanyahu, forces him to land, forces the plane to land. He'd be arrested, taken to Netanyahu, Netherlands, to The Hague, and tried for war crimes. The ICC, under its present rules, can't condemn Netanyahu nor Gallant for war crimes. Now, this is another of my hopes for 2006. I hope the ICC will replace that law with authorizing condemnation in absentia that we have in most countries. I know in the United States we have, in France as well. As such, it could proceed, the ICC could proceed to condemn Netanyahu, and when he is eventually arrested, he will then be taken directly to prison in the country collaborating with the ICC. One last chapter, and that is direct action, such as the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, which I was involved in as the owner of the Handala, and the Global Movement to Gaza type of activities where boats are going through the sea because the global Samud movement by land was stopped. Boats laden with food, water, and medicine. I think there's hope that many, many, many more boats are coming together, and there's preparations now, and I can't go into detail about it, and hopefully I could be involved maybe on a boat or on the land crew to help hopefully pierce the Israeli blockade with massive number of boats. And as you all recall, and I'm almost finished here, give me another minute, as all recall that our Samud, and I was on the Spectre boat trying to get into Gaza with lots of food, water, and medication just a couple of months ago, that we were accompanied by two naval vessels from Spain, one from Italy, one from Greece, and one from Turkey. They did turn back when we got to the red zone, but it was something that we could envisage for 2006, that we could overwhelm the Israeli naval forces with a massive number of boats, if needed. Hopefully we're not needed, but with a massive number of boats accompanied by the naval vessels of countries. Finally, Mike and you wonderful speakers that I've listened to you with great interest. These are my hopes and dreams for 2026, and I thank you for allowing my flag to fly at the helm of a boat carrying those dreams, those hopes, hopes to a better world.
Yeah, I think it's. I think well said, by the way, and we are all. Me in particular, and Jen, we admire you enormously. We're even greater admirers of your work than Basil Valentine is. There you are. Look, before, one of the worst, I think, in my, and I'm being a bit flippant here, by the way. One of my, I think, a torturous experience would be to listen, and I think you may agree, would be to sit in a room and have to listen to an entire Mariah Carey album. Because normally she's such a high, she screams. Anyway, so we found this video, and it's all about Christmas. We understand that Hedley would enjoy this version very much. I'd just like you to sit back for a minute because it's Christmas and have a listen to her vocal range. You'll be, well, Hedley, this will make your Christmas.
For Christmas is you. Make my wish come true. All I want for Christmas is you. You fuck off! So make my wish come true. Cause baby, all I want for Christmas is you. Yeah. Merry Christmas!
Welcome to Aldi, where our knockoff brands will knock you off your feet.
We've removed everything you don't need, from background music, fuck off, to staff that give a toss, all to keep those prices down. We're proud that our own label range was crowned Own Label Range of the Year at the Grocer Gold Awards 2025. Our middle aisle has everything you need for daily life, whether it's a garden hose or a turbo for an Astra diesel. Whatever it is, we've probably got it somewhere between the wetsuits and the waffle makers. Our checkout staff are trained athletes, built for speed, endurance, and an unshakable fear of eye contact. We love seeing the panic on your face trying to keep up while we hurl items at you. You'd better bring your goalkeeper gloves to the packing area.
So pop down to Aldi. Every day is a saving, providing you survive the checkout.
With your help, we can continue to fight for freedom, reach new audiences, and bring important information to the public free of charge. This is not possible without your generosity. Join our quest for the truth and our freedom and donate today, telling it as it is. This is today's News Talk, The World Today.
And welcome back to The World Today. I should check in on our guests to see if they've lived through that Mariah Carey, what would you call it, Hedley? Mariah Carey torture, abomination, or is that her real voice after a few drinks?
Well, having been through a nasty dose of flu, cold, call it what you will, with a similar effect on my voice, she can still sing better than I can, so I can't say any more than that.
And lucky you don't, because I'm sure the lawyers, although we do have a good lawyer with us, maybe Frank could look after us when we're sued. Hedley, where do you see the UK? Just leave the medical side of things, but looking at overall the UK, where do you see the UK heading for the next 12 months? And using what has happened for the past 12 months as a basis for your thoughts.
Well, in medical terms, in the pharmaceutical industry terms, I mean, all the regulators across the world, except the FDA, the US FDA, are still in Bill Gates's pocket. Basically, and the because we know, I've said before many times, Mike, that the UK was the center, the epicenter of this whole global scam of SARS-CoV-2 sterile injectables that were a rebranding of a drug that was already on the market, a gene therapy that was already on the market, a first one approved by the FDA in 2017, a gene modified cell therapy called CAR-T, which was for rare blood cancers. It wasn't selling because it was nearly $500,000 just for one dose. And in the last 3 years, the FDA put a black box warning on that class of drugs because they were subject to cytokine release syndrome, neurological toxicities, and secondary cancers, which is exactly what we're seeing with these so-called vaccines. It was just a rebranding. They called them vaccines instead of gene-modified cell therapies, and made billions of dosage. They invented two small companies, BioNTech and Moderna, who basically aren't companies at all. They're just set up as useful new guys on the new kids on the block who suddenly can develop vaccines in less than 12 months rather than the usual 12 years. And people were taken in by that. And where's BioNTech now? You don't see them. Moderna, UK government has given them a £200 million vaccine plant in the UK, and the UK government is funding Moderna in all sorts of ways because actually they don't have any real people on the ground other than the guys you see on the website in smart suits. So I think the UK is in an awful position. No one in the UK is safe from medical malfeasance. We are seeing people now taking the obesity drugs. It's the latest trend in the UK to lose weight is to inject yourself with these injections. No long-term safety data, and the MHRA has huge powers to investigate, to actually ask for data, longer-term data on the impact of these drugs. We know that pancreatitis is one well-known side effects. They should be collecting real-world data, but they may be collecting it, but they're not doing anything with it. I don't know where they're putting it. But people know other people who are complaining of side effects from this latest this latest craze, which is to lose weight, not in the conventional way, which is diet and exercise, but in the pharmaceutical way, which is to suppress your appetite to an extent where you probably don't want to eat at all. You have to force yourself to eat. And I and my wife and family, we've all got stories of people who've almost shrunk to nothing and seem very happy, yet they don't enjoy their food and they don't enjoy their life, but they can get into a size 6 pair of jeans. So that's where we are. But the point I'm making here is MHRA should be all over this because there is going to be, at some point, it's going to become clear that these lifestyle drugs are harming people. And how are they going to explain not taking action before that?
Robert, Germany is becoming the spotlight again, not for the right reasons. Tell me about your government there at the moment and its enthusiasm to surveillance and just about bashing on the head of many other civil liberties.
I'm happy to do so. First, I'd like to respond to what Frank Romano said, in fact, because it's very interesting hearing this right after what I said. I said that Gaza illustrates a means of tension politics to create a one-world government, a one-world dictatorship. And the response, which is logical and maybe also intelligent, is that we appeal to the United Nations to help, So this is exactly what they're doing. This is exactly what they want. They want us to plea for a one world government to get rid of these horrible conflicts, genocides, inhumane politics. This is the perfect example, but you would see this in Germany too. It's crazy because Germany has had the reputation of being a stable nation with regular normal life, and in fact, they're doing everything to destroy this, and they're successful. I mean, who's they? Is of course the most important question. I think should rather say plutocrats instead of talking about the German government. It's just too important to note that these people in the government are very much linked. They're very intimate relationships to the biggest corporations in the world, and and this must explain their otherwise illogical behavior, and a behavior which is harming themselves as politicians, a behavior which is obviously harming the German population and the German country and even the European Union. So surveillance is of course part of creating a dictatorship, and the surveillance happened already in the past. They had years ago police coming into private apartments because of a private chat message sent to a friend. This, of course, has been illegal, but it has publicized this way of thinking, this way of means. It's a bit like, as the government said before the mask mandates, oh, we don't need mask mandates. I mean, I don't think anybody in the world has ever thought about this option, because why would you need it? It never happened in the past. So if you say you don't want it, it's a way of getting into this narrative, and then you can debate about it. And the same had happened about the chat surveillance, and now we have laws allowing this to people who are not even suspected of doing anything criminal. Just to know. You have this on so many levels. One big step towards this end has been the loss of privacy in the medical relationships, in the relationship to the doctors, because they now have to give the personal data centralized to the insurance companies, and so the data is the way. It's also a means of surveillance. But even things like smart meters for electricity are means of surveillance, because they will then be able to tell others whether I'm at home, whether I have a computer server, when I have my coffee. It's crazy how many means of surveillance there are, and it's the question is, how do we deal with this? And I'm very happy that Frank Romano and also Hadi Rees emphasized there are means to do something. You can go plead to the institutions, and I think you should do. I mean, I'm doing this too. I'm starting legal procedures. It's the same as the Palestinians did. I don't know how many trials Palestinians did against that their houses have been robbed. Just to give an example, also against the Israeli state, using the jurisdictional system of Israel, and it somehow helped to slow down the process, but it didn't reverse the process. And I am afraid that this is the same here. So what can reverse the process? I think if we connect, we who are talking here, and we connect with our audience, and we try to get as much as possible out of that system, which is in fact oppressing us, it's an advantage. This is really building up something. If you have a network which is really on the shoulders of the audience instead of some plutocrats, in terms of media, if we pay, let's say, by silver coins instead of having any third party involved in our exchanges, if we build our own infrastructure on all levels, I think this is a way of being freer, of being more independent. And I think independence, freedom, and peace are interwoven. You cannot have one without the other. And this is my big take for 2026.
Frank, would you like to respond to that?
Yes, totally. I think, Robert, the idea, first of all, of any type of justice through the Israeli courts for Palestinians is almost a travesty. Most of the time, the Israeli courts they find a way to side with the Israeli government or the settlers against the Palestinians who've lost their homes, some of them have lost their lives. But the idea then, and you did suggest the possibility of submitting cases before the international institutions, with all that I discussed before, all the challenges and the timing challenges, is still an option. And if there are decisions that are rendered, the ICC are waiting for that final decision to be rendered, but we can't have it because Netanyahu has to be in The Hague personally, and the International Court of Justice decision against Israel, of course, that is only against states. For genocide has been going on and on. These institutions need to be expedited, but that idea, I'm not sure if I completely understand it, but I think I felt the impact of what you were saying, Robert, is the burden of a lot of this on our shoulders. We build this network together for the audience and work out, and I would take it to the step, another step then. Once we do that, then we can take direct action with the people directly, whether it be, for instance, if we're talking about the Israeli deprivation of humanitarian aid to Gaza. I know I'm focused on that because I'm very active in that. That could give rise to very huge impact with respect to boycott if we can work together. And maybe I understand that, Robert, taking the burden on our shoulders to build this network among the audience, and taking the power away. And this, I think, is directly related to what you just said, Robert, against the big powers that control us, whether it be the military-industrial complex, take the decisions out of their hands. It seems to be asphyxiating us. And I'm also French, by the way. I'm French-American, and I feel that same thing as you feel, Robert, in Europe. The pressure and the control by these big businesses, and leading to if not a dictatorship, an oligarchy of control. That how we're going to break the back of this. I think Gaza has shown us the way that we can establish a world, maybe revolution, and we can resist. And then us together, following through, taking it to a global level that we're all subject to this type of control, and we need to resist. And maybe we can, as you implied, Robert, set up some type of a network, a people's network, and maybe start here, Mike, with your program and move forward on that.
Yep. And just on that, by the way, fingers crossed, we have an investor. So the investor will be kicking off, again, fingers crossed, and anything can go left and right here, but which, if it does happen, which we believe it will, back to 24/7 hours a day, great staff. It'll be a lot of the old TNT staff, and we will do what we did then. That is focus on the Middle East, in particular Gaza and Israel, because it is one of the it is absolutely vile. It is vile, and I don't give a rat's what anyone says. We must not forget. We must not forget. We must do more, because the idea of one innocent person dying is terrible. The idea of hundreds of thousands of innocent people dying, no matter what culture or religion, is abominable. And I think we need to stop that. But this is a Christmas show, by the way. At the moment, everyone set fire to the trees, feeling a bit miserable about the whole damn lot. And before we come back to Hedley and also Robert, and of course Frank with some pearls of wisdom, We'll go to a quick commercial break, come back. This is an extended version of The Protagonist, and this is The World Today.
Mom? Dad?
At Tesco, Christmas is about bringing people together, most of them around the discount section at the back. We know there's a cost of living crisis, so this Christmas we've put our prices up. There's no point in us both struggling. Your Christmas shopping experience starts here. Sign up to our loyalty programme to unlock trolleys that are 7% faster. Speaking of our loyalty programme, without a club card, this turkey is £42. With a club card, it's still £42. Turkey and pigs in blankets were very popular this year, so unfortunately they're gone now, but we do have a wide range of amazing adjacent items. For Christmas, we've made your shopping experience magical by rearranging the entire store every day. Found what you came for? Now that's a Christmas miracle. And to make your shopping experience smoother, we've hired extra staff to remove old people blocking the fridges.
On a budget? Tesco's London Dry Gin might taste like piss, but it'll still do the job so you can tolerate the in-laws.
In a hurry, head over to self-checkout and scan your own shopping. Only 60% of our customers are selected for random inspections. All staff are required to wear red undies throughout December, and we play our 2 favourite Christmas songs on repeat to get you into the festive mood.
If we're a bit understaffed today, it's because we had our Christmas office party last night. Henry's been laid off, David's in hospital, and Robert's in jail.
Thank you for choosing Tesco this Christmas.
With your help, we can continue to fight for freedom, reach new audiences, and bring important information to the public free of charge. This is not possible without your generosity. Join our quest for the truth and our freedom and donate today, telling it as it is. This is today's News Talk, The World Today.
Just heard a noise. Someone was burping in the background, I think. Anyway, that's okay. Adds to the Christmas cheer. And at the moment, we've been talking about some very serious issues, which has been the thread throughout the last 2 hours. However, we do need to have a bit of Christmas cheer. We'll kick it off with Hedley. Hedley, after chortling away at that Tesco commercial, and most people on chat are saying that it's about right. Well, that parody resembles Tesco. Anyway, I've not shopped at. Yes, I have. I have shopped at Tesco once. They were very nice people, and I think some of them spoke English. Hedley, tell me about what you're doing for Christmas. What do you do in Wales? Do you stand on the corner and sing songs as Welsh people do, and drink a lot, or do you not sing songs and not drink a lot? What are you doing for Christmas?
Oh gosh. It's all a lie about the Welsh people can sing. A lot of them can. Tom Jones can, but I can't sing for toffee. But yeah, we have a traditional Christmas. The family come over. My 2 daughters with our 3 wonderful grandchildren, and Katie and Carly, and Katie will come with her boyfriend, and we'll all have a glass of Prosecco at about 11 o'clock where the turkey's cooking, and then progressively sort of, have a bit of alcohol, food over the day if we have to. And it's obviously we open the presents in the morning, and I always get some nice new clothes. I can depend on that. I want a pair of gloves as well this year because it's been super cold the last couple of days walking the dogs. But yeah, there's nothing, nothing. I'm not going to take any medications though. That's the only thing. I stay away from them as much as I possibly can here in the UK. So.
And that's a good idea. I think the medication you should stick to is what Welsh people have stuck to over the last 1,000 years, and some good whiskey. That's what I reckon. And my doctor, by the way, is Welsh. And I always say the same things to him as I'm saying to you, so I've rehearsed these lines many times. Dr. David Richards here, and he's Welsh, but he does sing a bit, and he does like his beer, of all things. Robert Sibbis in Germany, what are you doing for Christmas? How are you celebrating it? I could say a couple of things off camera, but I won't, because I may end up getting a letter from a solicitor, so I won't do that bit just yet, but that will come. Robert, what are you doing for Christmas, and how are you celebrating it?
I'm, of course, with my children and my parents, and it's a family party, and I am very happy about this. It's what, it relates to what we said earlier. It's about connection, and it's fundamental to look at the awful things in life, but at the same time to never lose your state of amusement. So I try to be joyful and happy every day, not just on Christmas. And I know the only thing which guarantees my survival in the future and in the next year is the connection to other people. And of course, core to is the family. So I love the concept of having once a year the family very close for some days meeting. It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. Even though I'm not that Christian, but I like the story of Jesus being an anarchist, and I hate what the Catholic Church, for instance, made out of it, So it's always what you make with it. You can pervert any story into something, and you can make Christmas a horrible day, but I'll do everything to have it fun.
Yep, I totally agree. And it is all about, I think, family, community, faith. If you have that, I mean, people say if you're not a Christian, you won't go to heaven or something. I think it's just rubbish, because if you're a good person, you're a good person. And being a Catholic, I'll probably go to hell. My dad prosecuted the Catholic Church, which went right up to Rome and top of the government here and the police force, and took 40 years for him to be vindicated. So very long time, and understand the damage that religion can do, but also understand that the good that religion can do. Frank, tell me about your Christmas. And can I ask you a question also, just to part of that? You've been on these flotillas twice, and second time in jail, they really meant what they said. And you're thinking about going back again. Do you have this death wish?
Well, no, and I'm not a masochist.
Really?
It's just that I know people are saying, "Come on, you were on the gondola," and I've been in jail before, even before that, when I was working with the Bedouins, and I speak Arabic with them, and then their bulldozer came into this village called Kana Akmar, and we have nothing, we have no weapons, and so we got in front of the bulldozer, kind of scared about it because we were remembering Rachel Corrie. But it's a long period, Mike, Headley, and Robert, of just having this vision of wanting to do something, not like a tourist. I mean, I really feel close to the Palestinian people, had this dream about our closeness, and trying to interpret that into direct action, and not knowing what else to do, basically, as a direct action. I was banned 6 years ago already from returning to Israel and Palestine, not being able to go back and organize demonstrations and conferences like I had in the past. So the only way I could get back into Palestine was by sea. And that's why I was involved with the Freedom Flotilla from Istanbul all the way to Malta, and then the Madeleine and the Hondola, and then the Global Samud, just to really participate in direct action. And yeah, people are saying, what's the point? You're just going to go to jail, and all your ships are confiscated, and all the humanitarian aid as well. But the main purpose actually wasn't even that. the main purpose was to shine a light on the struggle of the Palestinians. And we got so much media attention, including yours, Mike, and also TNT, and also your friend Basil. So we really brought the world's attention. So people that were on the fence about Israel and Palestine started to make decisions for themselves, and so that press experience really made the difference. And but really this time, and one more thing, when we were being intercepted, 44 of the boats got through to the Orange Zone and were being intercepted 2 months ago by the Israeli Navy. You probably read about it, or maybe didn't. The Gazan fishermen were able to fish in zones they couldn't before because it's being monitored by the Israeli naval forces, that they were too occupied with us, and they caught thousands of fish and were able to feed a lot of people thanks to the distraction that we made. And so it's almost biblical. So I'm thinking, if we can do things like this, Mike, and bring the press in, it's worth the risk.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think Christmas, every year, at home, we are in a very high stressed occupation. Not as much as Frank's, but he invites it in. We don't invite it in. But I have to say, Christmas is truly, whether you are religious or not, it's all about family. If you have faith, it's about faith. It's about community and community, family, and faith. Want to thank you both, three of you. Sorry, Frank, I forgot you already. Dr. Frank Romano, Hedley Rees, Robert Sibbers, thank you very much for your kind help and your input for the past year and for being on today. Thank you so much. God bless you all, and I'll come back after this commercial break. Have a great Christmas. This is The Protagonists, back after this short break, and this is The World Today. Thank you.
437 gender guess who can be found at your local Target or BDSM shop. Batteries not included, except as an additional gender.
Welcome back from commercial, everybody. The next item in our Christmas showcase is number FN2187. We have here a collection of Trump Christmas carols, and you can pick up any of these and enjoy them. They're easy to open. Ooh, is it cold in here? Come warm yourself by the fire, and we'll listen to one of these classic tunes sung by your favorite president.
They're making a list, checking it twice, finding which houses serve pintos and rice. ICE agents are coming to town. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to find a new gardener. That's just the way it is.
Wow, that song was incredible. It blew my socks off. Hey, get ready to rock around this Christmas tree, because the next song is Silver Bells.
Have yourself a mega little Christmas from this house of white, both the building and my race. If you say happy holidays, you'll be shot on sight.
You know what else gets me in the Christmas spirit? Compact discs. It does not come with a lantern. Don't forget to act now. Make this collectible Donald Trump Christmas album your choice for the holidays.
It's beginning to look a lot like winning. Everybody tells me, everywhere I go. Take a look at the DEI. You'll find that it's gone bye-bye. With Middle Eastern peace about to grow. It's happening, folks, right now as we speak.
I love you too. Hey, you know what? I can't help but move to those grooving beats. One thing I always think about with Christmas, hot cocoa. And you know who makes hot cocoa the best? Donald Trump. And it makes me think of this song.
Hunter Biden's dreaming of a white Christmas. Nobody wants it as much as him, believe me. With festive snow lines up his nose. I'm talking about cocaine, in case it wasn't clear. He loves the stuff.
Wow, beautiful tunes. And remember, you can always call now and get another vinyl cassette. And you'll be able to put that into your radiographer. Let me start over.
Build the wall to guard our border. They want chaos, we bring order. Donald blocks the gay agenda. Sends votes back to Venezuela. It's beautiful this time of year.
You know that classic Anglo-Saxon tune, Feliz Navidad? No one knows what that means until now. Trump has gruelingly spent hours translating it into its original English. And now we're here to listen.
Happy Christmas! I've always loved this song. Happy Christmas! Why'd I have to ruin it with Mexican? Happy Christmas! Prosperous year and happiness. It sounds so much better in American. Happy
So calm
Christmas!
down, and you won't be disappointed how Donnie lights up your Christmas season. And right now, that's enough for this showcase, but coming up next, don't change that channel because we have the Mike Pence Advent Calendar.
Have you seen Monty Python's Life of Brian Christmas Crackers?
Knock, knock.
Who is there?
No one. We're all alone in a godless universe.
Monty Python's Life of Brian Christmas Crackers. Fun for all the family, as long as you're not Christian, easily offended, or expecting good jokes.
With your help, we can continue to fight for freedom, reach new audiences, and bring important information to the public free of charge. This is not possible without your generosity. Join our quest for the truth and our freedom and donate today, telling it as it is. This is today's News Talk, The World Today.
And just about it. I see a lot of our chatters have come on thinking we weren't on. You have to go to YouTube or Rumble and have a look at the repeat. It's actually, I think, a very good show. A lot of sensible comments from Rada and Greg Simons, Trevor, Frank Romano, of course, Robert Sivers. Who else was there? Rada, Sterling, Hedley Rees, the whole lot. Great conversations. And then with I have the worst sense of humour, apparently. I'll get slapped around the ears when I get home. And I am looking forward to that, by the way. No, but it's Christmas, so good whacking won't hurt anybody. Have a great Christmas break. We're going to have about a week off. Not too sure on the timing. We do think, as I said, that very shortly, it might be a couple of weeks away yet, but very shortly, watch this space because I think we're back. Anyway, I've said that before, but I think we are. And I think we will do a lot of good. And the people we have who have helped us out, who work with us, not for us, work with us, thank you. To Timothy Shea, Ruckus, Hesher, Kimberly, just been brilliant. Basil, of course. Can't forget Pella. Found he could get his shirt collar right. Very, very good indeed. To Cam. Cam has been priceless. And he was going to come on camera. Then he realised that his hair was just very messy. And it was a bit frizzy. And he couldn't find that hair anyway, somewhere. He left it somewhere. To Jen, thank you very, very much for your good work. Much appreciated. To my wife, thank you so much. And to the cats. Tabitha, Bronte, Benoit, I mean, there's 40 of them. Layla, Ali, Maida. I think that's about it. Or have I left one out? I think they're all there. So thank you very much to everybody. Have a great Christmas. We'll catch you on the flip side, probably at the start of 2026. God bless you all, and thank you. This is The Protagonists, and this is The World Today.